Hello and welcome everyone to episode 23 of Paperboy Adventures. I'm Carly and good friend of Kyle's from our Red Bull days many moons ago. And today we are joined by Sam Abramson, the CEO of Just Date. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited to chat with you, dig deeper into the story, the journey of Just Date so far, and what's in store for the future. Personally, I'm consciously working on having a lot less sugar in my diet. And I just want to say thank you for all the delicious products you're bringing and will continue to bring, as we'll talk about, into the world. So, welcome to the pod, Sam.
Thank you so much, Carly. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, let's jump in. For those less familiar, we always kind of start at the top and ask, what is the elevator pitch for Just Date if somebody's not, as intimately familiar with the products?
Yeah, so the simplest way that I can put it is that we make chocolates and sweeteners from dates. We really believe in the nutrient density of dates and think that anything can be sweetened with dates.
Amazing. So, organic sweeteners, chocolate from dates. I think there's some really interesting things about redefining the sugar category and how honestly bad sugar is for us. So, tell us a little bit about why dates make for a better sugar or a better sugar substitute product, kind of what spurred you guys to create this.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I used to love sugar and sweet things, and that was so much part of my life growing up. And when I started learning a little bit more that more than 77% of Americans want to cut back on sugar, and many people are being told you need to cut back on sugar. There's actually, I think the number of grams of sugar that a woman should have is 25 grams, and the number of grams of sugar that a man should have is 35 grams. There's sugar hiding in absolutely everything. It's in your yogurt, it's in your drinks, it's in your coffee, it's in your ketchup, it's in so many different things, it's in vitamins. And so I think for us, how do you help people have less sugar and still eat really, really delicious sweet things? Like for me, I really cut refined sugar out in a big way, probably 5 or 6 years ago, along with the founding of Just Date. And I still eat lots of delicious sweet things. I made my brother a birthday cake last week and it was entirely date sweetened. And I don't know that you would miss any refined sugar. So dates really add this nutrient density, and that is it's fiber in the date sugar, it's antioxidants, it's potassium, it's magnesium, it's polyphenols in our chocolate. So this is really sugar with nutrients. Just it's not just empty calories. There's actually something that is good for you. Of course, everything should be in moderation with sweets, but it's sweets that you'll feel really good about and they won't spike your blood sugar. So if I'm going to have a piece of cake, I'm probably not going to crave another piece of cake. There's something satisfyingly sweet about dates.
Versus making you have a craving that or a crash that makes you want more and more and more. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it goes without saying, right? That is what people want today. They want that sweet spot where they can enjoy something they love without all the, really bad side effects that come with a product and ingredient like sugar, which to your point is in everything. So let's wind it back to the very beginning, if that's okay for a second. Um, Sam, you have a very impressive career. Looking at your LinkedIn, you have many years at Apple, TBWA. How did you get involved with Dr. Sylvie back in the beginning, and how did this product come to be? And how did you make the move into CPG? Tell us the full story.
Yeah. So Sylvie and I have known each other since college, and she started the business in 2018. And so she was in medical residency at the time, seeing the impact of refined sugar on her patients, both physically and mentally. Saw the problem at home too. Her dad had multiple heart attacks resulting from diabetes. And she was like, everyone in my life needs a sweetener that's actually good for them. And so her mom had been using medjool dates in chutneys growing up, and she was like, I think I can take the nutrition from dates and turn them into a sweetener. And that is where single ingredient sweetener Just Date organic date syrup was born. How I got involved, I was kind of along for the ride informally as an advisor. And then in 2021, she came to me and she was like, I have a small business. I have a baby. I have a baby on the way. I'm pretty overwhelmed. And I was like, I definitely can't help you with your kids, but I think you're onto something with the business. And as I said previously, I thought the stats were really, really interesting around people wanting to cut back on sugar. And I call myself a fruit lady. So I went from apple to dates.
That's
And
awesome.
I really wanted to see the fullness of a business. I had never managed a P&L. I had launched so many products. I've launched so many iPhones, Apple Pay, Macs, Apple Watches, you name it. But I'd only done the advertising portion of that product launch. Whereas when we launched our date sweetened chocolate chips, like every single phase of that, I was part of that. And so there's something even more satisfying seeing that on a Whole Foods shelf, seeing that on a Sprouts shelf, and really bringing something into the world that I so strongly believe in. And I think for me, saying earlier, I love sugar and I love sweet stuff. So I can really relate to the people who want to eat sweet, delicious things. And so I feel very values and mission aligned with
Mm.
Just Date. Certainly, I never had to worry about payroll at Apple. So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, going from huge company to a startup is very different, and commend you for jumping in, but getting to own everything soup to nuts is really exciting, and the ownership and, like you say, being mission and values aligned is huge. So bring us along for the ride from 2018 to now. What has been happening with Just Date over the years? What do you think are some of the milestone moments that you've had as a business up to now?
Yeah. So we have now 5 SKUs. So I'll just take a little step back. So back in 2018, Sylvie met the Whole Foods global buyer. His wife was a nutritionist. They were very aligned, and so Just Date syrup launched in Whole Foods nationwide. And Whole Foods has been an incredible partner to us throughout the business, which has been really, really amazing because we know our customer shops there. In 2020, we launched a second syrup SKU, just pomegranate syrup, and then had 2 SKUs nationally at Whole Foods. 2020 was a great year for the baking and sweetener aisle.
Yeah.
And then when I came into 2021, we kind of needed to look at things knowing that the COVID environment was shifting. We were about to launch a granulated single ingredient date sugar, and we needed to look at the packaging to make sure that we were competitive in the market. I came in and really looked at the margins on everything. Where were we making money? And then evaluating velocity. And sweeteners and sugar are somewhat slow moving. Syrup moves slowly out of a bottle, it moves slowly off of the shelf. And
Mm.
so, what else could we be thinking of that would potentially get us into higher velocity spaces? And we really wanted to stay in the aisle that we knew, which was the baking aisle. And it started to make sense with the brand. It feels like you don't have a full sweetener lineup without chocolate, because so much of what
Right.
people think of when they think of delicious sweet things is chocolate. So date sweetened chocolate chips started to ideate and come to life, and we got really, really excited about them. We got Whole Foods really, really excited about them. And so in November of 2023, we launched our date sweetened dark chocolate chips. And also in November of 2023, the manufacturing partner that we had been working with on that launch walked away from us in the middle of the launch. And so it was kind of crazy because it's one of those things where you make this assumption that chocolate chips are going to transform the business, and you now are set back almost a year. We had to find a second manufacturer. We made a bunch of product at break even to make sure that we stayed on the Whole Foods shelf. We then found our current manufacturer. They've been an amazing partner, but it really took us until Q4 of last year, 24, to start to realize some of the assumptions that we'd originally made. So our assumption was that chocolate chips would be higher velocity than sweeteners. They absolutely are. We are seeing velocities between 7 and 8 units per store per week at Whole Foods and Sprouts. We also assumed that there would be people who were new to brand from chocolate, and that would help them to discover the rest of our brand. And so we would see a halo for the entire brand. And we are seeing that. So we
It's great.
definitely, all of those original assumptions were right. It just has taken us even longer to start to realize those assumptions because things happen and
Yeah,
building
but
a
you can't
business is
predict.
hard.
It is, and you just have to roll with the punches as they come, right? And manufacturing's a tough one. That's a big one, but it sounds like you managed to find your way through it and delay, pivot. Most importantly, Whole Foods is huge, so to keep yourself on shelf there is awesome that you were able to find a way to make that work. Yeah, interesting times.
Yeah.
Okay, so last year, what happened with Just Date last year to bring us up to today?
Yeah. Last year was our best year yet. We grew almost 100% last year. And so, what's been really, really exciting is Q4 was a really big quarter, best quarter ever. Now, Q1, best quarter ever. So, we are just seeing really, really, really strong traction on these date sweetened chocolate chips. And it's exciting because we hear it at the consumer level, and then we
Mm,
also hear it from people who own small bakeries all across the country who reach out to us and ask if we sell the chocolate chips in bulk. And so the chocolate chips are definitely transforming the business. And I think that one of the things that is on us now is there's a lot of people who think of us as a date syrup company. And so now we are much more than just a date syrup company. And we have a really robust line of products. And it's going back to some stores. It's interesting when you have a commodity item like date syrup or date sugar, if there's another one on the shelf, some retailers are like, I already have a date syrup or a date sugar. And so now we have this new product that we can go to them and say, we have a date sweetened chocolate chip. We are the only date sweetened chocolate chip on the market. They sell extremely well. Customers really, really want this. I think that clean ingredient is as top of mind as ever. Simple ingredient is as top of
yeah.
mind as ever. So the date sweetened dark chocolate chips have 3 ingredients: cacao, cocoa butter, and dates. The milk chocolate chips have a fourth ingredient, which is organic oats. We really wanted to appeal to vegan and non-vegans alike.
Mm.
And for me, those are my absolute favorite. But it's giving us this new point of conversation. We have this new bestseller. So it's really a new opportunity to talk to retailers and grow our relationships with our existing retailers. Whole Foods has only had the dark chocolate chips, and the milk chocolate chips are launching this month. And so we've seen phenomenal numbers at Whole Foods with just the dark. So we can't wait to see our customers' reaction to the milk, knowing that they're loving finding them at Sprouts.
I mean, it's a really smart brand architecture because I think the Just Date name allows you to flex as a family across different lines. It's not like you came out as date syrup, then you're like, how do we add something else in? And like you say, it's win-win. It's something exciting and exclusive. New product only exists with you for your existing retailers and a way in for the others. So that's really, really smart. You mentioned bakeries and buying in bulk, which brings up the business model because I think it's really interesting how you have this D2C retail wholesale supply side model. So tell us a little bit more about that and the mix, and how the wholesale side came to be.
Yeah, so the majority of our business is retail. Um, we meet a lot of our customers on the retail shelf. And so that's somewhere like 60, 65% of the business. Then another really big piece of the business, about 25%, is actually bulk wholesale. And that is everything from a case of gallons of date syrup to an entire truckload of date sugar. And what has generally happened is we meet like minded partners who also believe in date sweetening and want to be sweetening with dates. And we have made some really great relationships and brands that we're so excited to be growing alongside of and watching them grow. And so we right now sell the date syrup and the date sugar and the pomegranate syrup, and the chocolate chips are just starting with wholesale. One of the partnerships that I've been so excited about is Met Daily Harvest, gosh, probably 4 years ago at Expo West. And we talked about different ingredients. And then they finally tried the date sweetened chocolate chips and they put them in their new Bites product.
Mm.
And they loved using them. So now they've added them to a smoothie product. And that has been really fun for us to see that. And I also think that oftentimes when you look on the back of a box of something that you think is really clean and has a really clean set of ingredients, you'll see a chocolate chip, and the chocolate chip will have a cane sugar and likely a lecithin in it, whether it's a soy or a sunflower. And that's just really typical of chocolate chips. So I think that there are brands who use chocolate chips, and we get a lot of inbound from people who want to be experimenting with our chocolate chips. So we see that as a really big area of potential growth. And it's cool. You get to think through, okay, do you do a branded partnership, or is it just a non-branded ingredient side, and how to approach those? And it's just been a really great way for us to work with a lot of brands that we're so aligned with and share a lot of values with.
Yeah, I think it's smart. It really, you were saying earlier, right? Looking for those velocity ideas for the business. And I think opening it up in that way, if you're sending truckloads, it certainly helps. So I think it's a really smart thing. And also, if you think back to the consumer need and people wanting less sugar, you're making it accessible for, cookie brands or bakeries or whoever it is to actually bring your product into the mix. And therefore you're making, people's lives healthier outside of when they just pick you up in store. So I think it's really great for people's health and also your business. So that's really awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's when you like eat out, that can be the hardest environment to
yeah.
know exactly what you're eating. And so I think that there like remains so much space to give people date sweetened chocolate chips, and for people to try date sweetened chocolate chips. It's a great way to introduce more people to date sweetened chocolate chips. So we're very excited.
Totally. Yeah, totally. What do you think over the years have been some of the keys to Just Date success? Can you attribute it to any key factors or luck or, relationships? What do you think have been some of the big unlocks?
Yeah, I think that it's really staying true to what we believe in. And what we really believe in is simple, organic ingredients that are not going to spike your blood sugar. So there's a lot of noise in terms of better for you. And we really try to walk the walk. So we clinically verify all of our products as low glycemic index. So we make sure that you're going to taste it and it's not going to spike your blood sugar. And that really comes from Sylvie's background as a doctor and really wanting to come up with things that have nutrients in them. We would never make a clear date syrup because you would strip out
Mm.
all of the ingredients, all of the nutrients that we really value. So it's sticking to like the nutrient pieces. And for us, it's always only date sweetened. And things we love about dates is we like to work with partners who are really thoughtful about their sourcing. So our partner for dates in Tunisia dries the dates in the sun and employs Tunisian women and gives them micro loans. So what are the different opportunities that we have to get really close to the farmer? All of the products are certified upcycled with the sugar. So the sugar and the date sweetened chocolate chips, and we're working on an upcycled certification for the syrups also. dates, for people who don't know what upcycling is, it's reducing food waste. So products that would otherwise go to waste. So sometimes dates are, we use all the ugly dates, the ones that wouldn't get sold whole. And so that makes them upcycled, and so reduces food waste because they're not no longer going to animal feed or getting thrown out. And so we like to be as thoughtful as we can about our impact, both on the health of our customers and also just like on the greater environment. And I think the other thing that I would say there is taste. There's like it's the simple ingredients plus taste. Like it has to be absolutely delicious. For me, we had a lot about at Apple about surprise and delight. And one of the things that comes through to my time at Just Date is when people try our products, they're like, wait, this is just one ingredient. When they try our date syrup or when they try our chocolate chips, they're like, wait, this is only sweetened with dates? Can you tell me the ingredients again? And I love the surprise of people when they're like, this is so delicious. I like
Yeah.
that every single time is so satisfying.
I mean, that's what brings people back to your brand. It's great if you have all these, credentials and claims you can make. But at the end of the day, the number one thing people want is for it to taste good. That's what's going to keep them coming back. So the fact it tastes good, the fact it's good for you, the fact it's better for the planet. I mean, it's wins across the board. So very smart. And I guess the ultimate test is to make a cake with normal sugar and just date and get people to see if they can spot the difference. Um,
Yeah, it's
okay.
funny. If you taste them side by side, you'll think that a cane sugar sweetened cake is definitely sweeter.
Yeah.
But I think if you tasted the date sweetened cake just by itself, you would be like, this is so delicious. You wouldn't miss the sugar. So it's interesting that like side by side sometimes, because it does taste less sweet. But I think we are so used to so much sweetness and it's often overly sweet. Like, and this is a silly thing because I'm obviously the CEO of Just Date and I eat date sweetened things all the time. But I think that things that are refined sugar, sweetened, taste too sweet at this
Hmm.
point. And so I think there's like a retraining of your palate. And that's what we see sometimes. Like we do really well in baking season, and then I like to call it better for you season. So you get into, Q1. And I think that there's moments of people where they decide that they're going to cut out sugar or reduce sugar for the year. And I think it takes 21 days to retrain your taste buds around less sugar. And so the more that people try to embrace like, okay, and it's just that one little decision. It's the decision to make a chocolate chip cookie recipe, but replace the leading brand Toll House chocolate chips with Just Date chocolate chips. You're reducing your grams of sugar by half. So it's just like
Mm.
the little choices that you make on a journey to overall eating less sugar and trying to get that grams of sugar closer to the recommended, because we are seeing like so much diabetes,
Yeah.
obesity. Sugar is linked to cancer, it's linked to heart
Yeah.
disease, it's all of
Yeah.
the biggest issues and causes of death in this country. There are sugar links.
There are. And I think it's, like we said at the beginning, everybody is really taking a good, long, hard look at their health these days and are looking for products that can taste amazing, that they can switch out, that feel like they're doing themselves or their family, if they are the baker or whatever it is, the cook, to take care of their families as well. Um, so as you're ideating as a team what products you want to bring to the shelf based on all the consumer insights we talked about, what does that R&D process look like? How are you deciding what the next product is, and when you should bring that out?
Yeah, so we have some stuff that is quicker and easier to bring to market. So, for example, we sell the date sweetened dark chocolate chips in bulk. When we sell them in bulk, they're a mini chocolate chip because that's what a
Mm.
lot of people like when they're making a cookie or a bar. They like that mini chocolate chip, more chocolate chips. So that's probably something that you'll see on retail shelves soon. And then I think it's really about, okay, so we started with our syrups and our sugar, and those are products that we have to do a little bit of education on. So what is a one for one swap? And so the answer for that is if you're baking with date sugar, we often tell you to reduce the flour because date sugar is so fibrous. I personally love the Bob's Red Mill blend with the date sugar. That's like my favorite baking combo. I just use a one for one on both. But there's some education in syrups and sugar, and you have to be comfortable cooking, comfortable experimenting, comfortable trying things. Chocolate chips give us a new, easier way to talk to our customers. Everyone knows what to do with a chocolate chip. You either bake with
Yeah.
it, you snack on it. There's like an ease of access to a customer that has been so amazing for us. And so then, how do we keep accessing our customer, knowing that of those 77% of Americans that want to cut back on refined sugar, not all of them are baking. Not like many of them are never going in a baking aisle. So, how do we make that refined sugar free, low sugar lifestyle more accessible to more people? And that's probably getting into something that's single serve. So, what is a single serve indulgence that's really built on our building blocks of date sweetening? And what can we give people that still hits those really simple ingredient, stays true to won't spike your blood sugar? So, that's really where we want to ideate next. And I think that it gives us access to lots of different potential customers. Like we know our customers in club, we know they're in Costco. We also know they're in an airport. We don't necessarily have the right products yet for that environment, but I think we have the building blocks to make that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you've brought out the building blocks, as you say, to begin with, but now you want to make it even easier for people, is what I'm hearing. How can they don't need to go home and bake it themselves? Perhaps you can make it for them.
Exactly.
It So it sounds like if we're thinking about product roadmap for Q4 later this year into 26, it sounds like you have some product in the works that people can expect to see at the retailers that you're currently in, and maybe more.
Yeah, I would say we'll grow with our current retailers. We actually just launched the date syrup in Kroger. So will be on shelves around when this is airing. So we're super excited about that. That's one of our big forays into conventional. And I think that we're excited about continuing to grow there. I think that awareness of dates is still really, really low, but I think it's grown over the past 5 years enough that people want to experiment with dates and date sweeteners. I think it's our job and everyone else that's sweetening with dates, everyone that's selling whole dates, to keep growing awareness of dates. And the more that the awareness of dates grows, like I love hearing other brands that use dates because it's just great for dates as a category. So it's really continuing to grow first in natural. We're natural first, then seeing what makes sense for conventional, and then starting to explore those places that we're not in and the right SKUs for those places that we're not in. So, but there's a lot of places like that we love that only have one or two of our current SKUs and they could have all five. So there's actually a lot of room to grow still in natural, which is where we know our customer shops every day. And then it's what's cool about date sweetened chocolate chips is I would say we get to go beyond our core customer. So if our core customer is me or you and is someone who thinks about their holistic well-being and wants to get enough sleep and is active, and then the second core customer is someone like my mom or someone who has been told by a doctor to eat less sugar, or someone in her life has been told by a doctor to eat less sugar. With date sweetened chocolate chips, we're actually reaching beyond that core audience. We're seeing a lot of feedback from people who don't necessarily fit that profile. So, how do we continue to reach again, like more and more people and the people who are on the periphery of our core customer? So, I think that is what helps to, it's really thinking about, okay, the core customer first, and then like that next layer of customers, and how do we reach them with our existing products and potentially with new products.
Yeah. And shopping where they shop. So, yeah, it sounds like the roadmap is going to be able to do both those things for you. So very excited to see what is coming to our shelves later this year. Um, that's a lot to deliver on when we think about the mix of wholesale and retail and D2C and building the brand and the R&D. How are you guys structured right now? And what does that also perhaps look like down the road a little bit here?
Yeah, we are a very, very lean team right now. I am a single full-time employee in the day to day, and I think that I outsource a lot of different things and get a lot of different support. I have some wonderful advisors. Hatchery Foods out of the Bay Area has been instrumental in helping me build cash flow modeling and forecasts and tying inventory to cash flow. That all gives me the tools to help me understand, okay, what's happening next, and really building out the roadmap of, okay, R&D roadmap, production roadmap, also hiring roadmap. And so I think the goal is to stay really lean and profitable, and then but be able to reinvest enough in the business that the business can continue to scale. And so that looks like bringing on more expertise at the leadership level, and then also people who are able to continue to execute operationally. And right now, so much of our food service business is inbound. What would it look like if we did outbound? I think that there's
Right.
so much to unlock there. So those are different ways that we see the team growing over the next 6 to 12 months.
Very exciting. It sounds like there's a lot of growth you can unlock, as you were just saying, within the current base and the current landscape, but just turning on some of those other levers. So if we were sat here a year from today, what would you hope to be able to say that you've achieved in that year and launched perhaps?
Yeah, I think that we would have a product that we would feel really excited about bring potentially launching in Costco, and feel like we had something to start to bring to club and have that on the horizon. I think that that can unlock a lot of things. And I would say that date sweetened chocolate chips, we would feel like they were starting to really saturate the natural channel, and that Kroger was doing really, really well with date syrup. And we felt like we could start having conversations about potentially bringing in new products. So those would be three goals that I would love to accomplish for a year from now.
Amazing. And then long term vision, what does that look like for Just Date as well?
Yeah, I think long term, we are continuing to build date sweetening. And I think that the more we are in the chocolate snacks confection space, there's a lot of room to find great strategic partners there. And so I think that it's thoughtfully growing right now and understanding, okay, what strategic partners could we be potentially could make a minority investment now, and then potentially we could think of as an acquirer long term. I think that starting to understand the landscape, and as especially as we build a little bit more in that snack and confection world, and then also people who are generally interested in date sweetening in general. It's fun when we're at trade shows like Expo West and we're meeting so many big food brands, and they're really curious about what we're making, because I think there is general curiosity in date sweetening. So I think it's continuing to grow awareness of date sweetening by making incredibly delicious products that are entirely date sweetened, and being really thoughtful about who to partner with along the way, who is curious, date sweetening curious, because I think that it's the consumer, and then it's also the trade side who is interested in that, like date sweetening movement. We definitely hear that more and more and more. It's like, oh, dates, you're sweetening with dates, and it's like, yeah, we've been doing it since 2018.
And that's the thing I think with being a trendsetter or a category creator and a first, it's partly the responsibility to grow the awareness of that. And sure, others may follow and come along, which creates a larger category, and there's upside to that too. But there's a lot of education and a lot of bringing people along for the journey. But I think that just pays off in the long run as you continue to grow the business and grow the brand. So great answer. That's really, really exciting for the future. Dates were definitely something I lived on during pregnancy. So I feel like I've been right there with you over the last couple of years. And thank you for all you do to make the world a healthier place and to make dates accessible for the masses. And I think having snacks and things like that along the way are only going to make it even easier for people to reach for a healthier sweet snack, which we all should be doing. So very excited to see where the Just Date journey takes you and the rest of this growing team. And we really thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love hearing your pregnancy story because that is such an important that is a place where people get turned
Yeah,
on to dates for the first
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So there's so many places we can reach people. So how do we show up for them and make sure that that first experience is wonderful and then they become a customer for life? And that gives us a really great launching point for new products. So I'm super excited about what's to come. And I am so grateful for this time getting to share Just Date with you and all of the listeners.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here and best of luck for all the things to come. And maybe we'll meet here this time in a year and see if it all came to be.
Perfect. Yes. And everyone can find our products at Whole Foods and Sprouts and the date syrup at Kroger now. And also on our website, there's a store locator. So it's enjoyjustdate.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Carly.
Take care.